Stop cleaning your bike like an idiot. Your bike is your pride and joy, but I see so many people who think they know what they're doing, making mistakes when they're cleaning their bikes. This is in part down to most of the advice and videos that are currently out there on the internet being complete and utter rubbish. So make sure you watch this video to learn how to do things properly so that you don't damage your prized possession. First mistake people make: not using a stand. Now, you won't always have one available, and that's okay, but if you do, use one. Now, stands, you can pick them up for not much money at all if you shop around, so it's well worth investing in one. And they just stop you accidentally knocking your bike over when you're cleaning it, which is something I see people do all the time, which then causes little scrapes and damages on the stays and on the top tube, especially if you're propping it against a wall and trying to clean it, and then you turn on the hose and then the pressure of the water just causes it to move slightly. It also gives you much better access to both sides of the bike and underneath. The next mistake I see people make is performing contact washes on dirty paint surfaces with harsh, horrible brushes like this. First though, a disclaimer. If you're the kind of person that washes your car in one of those big mechanical car washers with the swirling brushes that, well, causes swirl marks and scratches on the paint, then, well, you can continue washing your bike with a brush like this. Go for it. Live your life. However, if you're a more discerning, conscientious bike owner who wants to keep your bike looking tip-top condition and look after the lacquer and the paint, then continue watching. So if you perform a contact wash on a dirty surface straight away, such as my bike here, you can see there's a little bits of dirt all over the frame, then what you're effectively doing is creating sandpaper. Even if you don't use a harsh brush, if you just use like a nice soft mitt or microfiber, you've still got like a sandpaper effect, which is just going to mar the paint. It's going to cause little scratches all over the place. It's going to dull the finish, and it's something that actually looks a lot worse on matte frames, and it's going to cut into the lacquer. So what you must always do first, and it's the same principle if you're washing a car properly, is to perform a pre-wash. This is done by rinsing the bike down with water and then applying a pre-wash product or some kind of detergent, shampoo or cleaning product to the surface to help loosen the dirt, and then rinsing that off. Bonus optional tip for you here as well. If you've got a waxed chain and you've gone to the trouble of waxing it, I would recommend just taking some quick link pliers and removing the chain when you're cleaning the bike. It's very quick to take off and on with quick link pliers, and by doing this you won't wash the wax off the chain, and it also gives you better access to the cassette, jockey wheels and rest of the drivetrain so that you can clean them more effectively. Now, if you want to top up your waxed chain and perform some maintenance on that, we have dedicated videos that can tell you how to do that. The next one is quite a divisive thing when it comes to bike cleaning for many people, and it's to pressure wash or not to pressure wash. Some people swear by them, some people detest them. Many pro mechanics use pressure washers, but my take on it is that not all pressure washers are equal. Some automotive ones that you get at petrol stations are super powerful, and they're not designed to be used on a bike. The most powerful pressure washers are designed to clean surfaces, and the very most powerful ones are designed to cut open unexploded ordnance by bomb disposal teams. Now, you definitely don't want to be using something like that on your bike, but there are bike-specific pressure washers which are lower pressure, and you can also turn down the pressure that you're getting on a lot of commercial pressure washers to a safer, less powerful setting. The other thing to bear in mind is the distance by which you use it. So if you have the nozzle right up against wherever you're trying to clean, there's a lot more pressure than if it's a couple of meters back. So you can factor that in. What I would say is that if you are going to use a pressure washer on your bike, then I would just definitely avoid using high pressure jets of water on areas where there is grease and where you don't want water ingress, such as your hubs, your headset, the bottom bracket, the usual suspects really. So to summarize, I'd say using a pressure washer is okay, just don't use the most powerful settings on a pressure washer and don't aim it directly at bearings. And if you're using a wash mitt and a proper wash process with a pre-wash and a contact wash, using just a mist and a rinse like something like this is absolutely fine. With your pre-wash performed, you can now do a contact wash. Although you don't want to be using those nasty brushes on the frame. You can use brushes on your drivetrain in combination with some degreaser to get them cleaned. But for your wheels, forks, frame and bars and stuff that you don't want to get scratched, what I'd recommend you use is a nice big microfiber wash mitt like this. Then what we're going to do is put some bike wash concentrate inside a bucket. Also optional, but pretty good, use a grit guard. Like if you were washing a car, just means that any dirt and grit that does come off ends up underneath, stuck under that. Then what we're going to do is use a hose to just zhuzh up all of the soap in there and get loads of nice froth and bubbles. Performing a contact wash like this with a dedicated bike cleaner helps decontaminate the paint surface and get it ready if you're going to apply any paint protection on later. Another mistake I see people making is just using standard washing up liquid rather than a dedicated product, or dish soap if you're American. Now, if you're in a pinch, yeah, you can use this stuff, and it is, you know, in many cases significantly cheaper. But washing up liquid is formulated to be pretty harsh, and it is designed to remove grease and basically fat from the bottom of your frying pan. Consequently, it's not ideal for bikes because there are several areas on my bike where I don't want it to be that harsh and I don't want it to start removing grease, especially if it ingresses, such as the bottom bracket, the headset, and also in many cases the derailleur as well, and the hubs. I want the grease to stay in there. Also, washing up liquid has salt in it, which can lead to corrosion. Although this isn't a massive problem because, especially when you're diluting it down in a big bucket, that salt is in very low concentration, but it is something to be aware of. Another common mistake people make is contaminating their braking surfaces. And this is a problem on both rim brakes and disc brakes. It's something that is often made worse by things like aerosols and aerosol degreasers, that sort of stuff. If people tend to spray these around like they're Lynx Africa, and then you invariably get that mist overspray, which ends up on your braking surfaces. Now, at best, this is going to cause contamination and probably really loud and annoying brakes. At worst, it's going to mean that next time you ride and you slam on your brakes, nothing happens. What's much better is a spray-on degreasing product, such as this liquid. It's much easier to control it and then, you know, not get that overspray. Also a bit nicer for the environment. If you do get some contamination on your braking surfaces though, don't worry, you just use an appropriate product on there, such as, well, this works as a brake cleaner too, it won't make them noisy. Spray that on there and then just simply wipe it off with a clean microfiber. And the last mistake I'm going to tell you about is not drying your bike properly or leaving it somewhere damp after you've cleaned it. This isn't really a problem if you live somewhere like Arizona, but if you live somewhere like England, it's a much bigger issue. So by not properly drying your bike, you're going to rapidly encourage corrosion and rust to form, which will just eat your bottom bracket, your bearings in your headset, bearings in your wheels, and cause rust form on your chain as well. The solutions for this are, well, the best one is to use an air compressor to dry your bike. This is what pro mechanics use. They're incredibly effective, really good at drying out components and getting into all the nooks and crannies, but I appreciate not many people own an air compressor, so don't worry if you don't. The next best thing I've found, which I think is a great hack, is to use a dehumidifier. As again, very good at permeating all the cracks and just getting all that moisture out and drying something out. But again, not everyone owns a dehumidifier, although if you live in an aging, damp property like a Victorian house in England, then you probably should. Failing those two things, just a good old-fashioned microfiber drying towel all over the frame and drying it as best you can, and just not leaving it somewhere damp, like, you know, your old shed or a cellar or your garage or whatever, where it's going to encourage that rust. So I hope you found these tips useful, and in doing so you can better look after your bike. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. There are lots more things that you could include in here, but I don't want to make the video too long. So let us know your suggestions of things and hacks that you do when cleaning your bike to look after it properly down in the comment section below. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you've got a mate who just takes terrible care of their bike but has a really nice bike, share this video with them. Name them and shame them. Right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.